All right, what's going on, guys? Phil Daru back again, Daru Strong Podcast, episode number 44. Today, I had the opportunity to talk to a good friend of mine, Chris Duffin. If you don't know who Chris is, I'm actually going to read over some of his overall accomplishments. Now, Chris is an inventor, a thought leader, an entrepreneur in health and fitness. He has co-founded the globally recognized brand Kabuki Strength, where he serves as a chief visionary officer. Chris has invented multiple game-changing products improving human biomechanics under load, as well as systemized approaches to assessing and correcting human movements dysfunctions. These tools and methods are used by nearly every top professional in the collegiate team, penetrating over 90% of those markets alone. Chris also is the author and powerfully inspirational and motivational best-selling book detailing his incredible upbringing, providing the reader and guidance on introspection and goal setting. We talk a lot about the book, but we also talk about his upbringing and what he's doing now. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. Now, before we go ahead, I need to make sure I shout out the sponsors. Athletic CBD. Now, if you are a fan of CBD, I highly recommend this brand, Athletic CBD. Go check them out, athleticcbd.com. You can get 10% off on your final purchase. Use my discount code DARU at your checkout. Check it out now. You won't be disappointed. Also, make sure if you want to learn how to utilize my methods, my protocols, my principles of training, I know that you guys probably been looking at this from the YouTube perspective. If you're on my YouTube channel, go check it out. Again, my YouTube channel is growing. We're at 200,000 subscribers, so thank you so much. But if you want to learn more in depth, go ahead and check out my mentorship program, which is going to be available on my website, darustrong.com, and you'll get access for life. So go ahead and check it out. Now, let's get on to the episode with Mr. Chris Duffin.
Welcome to the Daru Strong Podcast. Daru Strong Podcast.
Let's go. Mind over matter. Put your mind somewhere else and keep going. That little voice in your head is trying to stop you from getting to where you want to be. Be successful and keep moving forward.
With your host and world-renowned strength and conditioning coach, Phil Daru.
Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. How you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Good talking to you again. Been long.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So for those people that don't know who you are, I know I have a lot of MMA fans and coaches. Can you go over just your story, man? Because your story is crazy. I know that you come from humble beginnings. I want the people to understand who you actually are and what you came from and how you're overcoming so many obstacles to be so successful in what you are today.
Yeah. So let me just give a quick summary of like where I'm at in the industry and then where, you know, how I got here. So I co-own Kabuki Strength, which is an education and equipment company. We're a globally recognized brand, you know, used by 90% of all the professional sports teams out there. Any college you can think of, you know, movie stars, you name it, The Rock, Thor, LeBron, like, so we're pretty influential in that regard. We specialize in human biomechanics. And so we make really unique products. I also co-own Barefoot Athletics because I do a lot of work in foot mechanics and so minimalist shoes, and I'm a supplement junkie, so I've got Built Fast formula. My background is definitely a little unique, so I'll just brief. Yeah, I'll just start.
Go ahead. Let's do it.
So yeah. I'm known for my lifting. I'm the only person that's ever squatted and deadlifted 1,000 pounds, and I did it for reps. I'm a best-selling author. And I'm an engineer by trade, actually. Now, how I got here. I grew up homeless in the wilderness, basically. Yeah. So we're talking foraging for food, hunting. I mean, I remember I'd have to, in the morning, afternoon, I'd go around and I'd catch grasshoppers with my hands and string them on my hook and go down to the stream and spend the day fishing so that when parents got back, because they were out, you know, doing something either, well, in the 80s, it was growing weed. In later years, it was mining or logging or cutting wood or whatever it was, trying to scrape by. But those early years in Northern California were pretty wild. So, you know, there was times where we had beams lashed up in the trees and that's where we slept. You know, it was the rattlesnakes were running around. We had to get away from them. We were in tents. If we had home, maybe it was a condemned dwelling or no electricity, running water, tents, just kind of all over the place. And it was by choice. Honestly, my parents were a bit unique, very smart, but just didn't know how to operate in the world and didn't want to be part of it. So that was a choice. But when you're hiding from society, you find that other people that are hiding from society many times are not doing it because they're great people. Yeah. So I've got in my book stories of dealing with murderers, drug running, lots of alcohol abuse. Yeah. There was a serial killer. There was human trafficking that affected the family. I don't really like talking about these things, but they're detailed out there. And this impacted me. I spent some time taken by the state, me, my 3 sisters, and my brother, and started working out of that. And we ended up in Oregon. My parents, when they got us back, stayed away from the drug trade, but still pretty quickly fell back into the environment of living in the wilderness and just being away from things. Yeah. And high school was pretty stable for me. We ended up actually getting a mobile home. So we had running water, we had electricity. I mean, the place was taken down later because it wasn't considered livable, but for us, it was great. It was stable. And so I did well in high school as far as education and athletics. I was a wrestler, state level, and did pretty good, but I ended up getting a full ride scholarship for academics to go pursue a dual engineering degree. And things quickly got way worse with the family when I moved out. Apparently, I didn't realize how much of a stabilizing force I was really the one that had been kind of taking care of and managing the sisters and just like doing other stuff. So without detailing what was going on, I ended up taking custody of my 3 younger siblings, and I raised all of them while I worked full time. Finished my engineering program, was chasing my career while I worked on my MBA, and kind of got started with life. And so a lot of people like to give me praise and whatnot for that. I think honestly, anybody put in those situations, they're going to step up and do this stuff, you know? Let's say I grew up early. I had to learn a lot of lessons during that period of time. Yeah. So, you know, when you're 6 years old and you're getting taught how to catch and handle live rattlesnakes because they're all around you, you learn really quickly about fear, and you got to respect it or you're dead, but you also got to not let it control you or you're dead. Yeah. And a lot of lessons. And so the scope of my life really allowed me to learn a lot that most people wouldn't. It's not just that upbringing, but it's from there where I went. So I ended up pursuing this, as you could imagine, I was kind of a quiet kid, wasn't exactly the most popular, and quite the opposite. Yeah. But I found out I could actually connect with people really well, just be my authentic self. And I ended up being a pretty good leader, and I developed to where I was a corporate executive, and I was running and turning around companies. I was sought for what I did. So I ran some automotive manufacturing companies, high-tech manufacturing companies. My biggest thing I did during that period of time was I took an aerospace company that was going to close its doors, and I turned it around from failing performance financially and service-wise to being the #1 supplier in the world to Boeing. In its class, and got it profitable, got it turned around and sold, and saved, the couple hundred people's jobs that were there.
How old were you when you did this?
I was in my early 30s.
Oh, so wow.
I advanced in this stuff really, really fast. So I learned, over that course of the career, I probably managed about 1,000 people. And so you get a lot of, I think it was part of like me only knowing chaos. I'd end up falling and taking these positions that nobody else would take. And then I'd learn so much over the course of this, and then advance to the next thing. And I'd be like, as soon as I got bored, I was off to the next thing. And so I did all that. Oh yeah. I lifted weights too. So I started lifting weights in 1988. Yeah. I wrestled, which was actually interesting, ended up being a connection. So I wrestled against, who was that? The guys that Chael Sonnen grew up with that had the gym up here too.
You had, I think it was Quest MMA. It was probably Team Quest. Yeah.
So a bunch of those guys were all wrestling when I was wrestling. And so those were the people I was up against.
Some good names right there. Some good guys.
Final match, actually, that Chael was watching, we found out later, because Chael and I became friends in other ways. And then found out, we're like, oh, we knew each other 20 years ago. He's like, I remember that match. It was so crazy. All this kid nobody knew came out and started whooping our buddy. And we're like, what the fuck?
Yeah. some mountain man.
This finals match that, this guy nobody knew about. And I'm like, yeah, that was me.
and let's back up a little bit though, real quick, Chris, because I wanted to get some understanding and more clarity on it, with the context of you being, so young and you living in basically a wood shed almost. Is that correct? You didn't have any running water at that time. You were secluded from everybody else pretty much, right? Did you know what was going on at that particular time?
Not really. So in those early years, it was what it was. I didn't, I can't say that I was very perceptive of the situation. But as I got older, it became more apparent, when kids would make fun of me because of the clothes that I was wearing, my shoes, my toes sticking out at the side of the shoes, things like that. And when I'm in junior high and we're living in a little trailer down by the river, and the Forest Service kicking us out and we got to move to another spot, and I'm sleeping in the back of a pickup truck. I was pretty aware that wasn't, and I didn't really share that information with anybody. So it was different. And I can't say that it was bad per se. It's just different than most people have the experience in this world growing up today. At the end of the day, people have lived in that manner for ages. Right. And but it gave me some perspective. I was definitely, a little late to kind of really socialize and interact. And I didn't have, obviously I've got big gaps in knowing about pop culture stuff, because it just, there's just lots of experiences I don't have that other people have. Right.
Yeah. I'm sure.
A lot of reading. The library was our friend. So it was just reading by candlelight, by flashlight. And that was good. Would
you attribute that, because you've done a lot, especially from the academia side, and being so, I don't want to say obviously you're very intelligent, very knowledgeable, but I feel like a large amount of work ethic was involved with that too as well. But you were able to get that knowledge at a young age because of the fact that you were able to read efficiently and consistently. And you don't get that with a lot of the younger kids nowadays. I try to get my son to do that on a constant basis, but a lot of kids are watching TV and playing video games. Can you, that actually was almost probably a plus for you, right?
Yeah. I was always, it was that. And then also you always got to be working on something. And so when you're living with that kind of stress, you learn to never relax. And so you're always working. We call it hustle or whatever we want to call now. Right. But that is I started lifting weights, I said early. I started competing in powerlifting around 2000. And a couple of years in, it's just this constant, I got to do better. I got to know, and quickly ran into, a wall at commercial gym. So I ended up building my own equipment and starting my own gym at home. So in 2003, I kind of moved from that into a garage gym, and next thing you know, I've got 20 people coming over to my house training. And then I started getting, I was pretty successful in powerlifting, but I started getting some injuries, and I'm trying to do research. I'm doing there's connections. This is all I've always found this night. There's connections, and I couldn't get the connection of what was going on these different injuries and how it related to my training. And that's where I started just trying to find the right information. Online wasn't doing it for me. The information wasn't there. And so I ended up I kept going around to different clinicians, and I'm like, nah, you don't know shit. On to the next person. You don't know shit. And then
wait, Chris, what made you think that they didn't know shit, or how did you figure that out?
It was it was very specific answers. and telling me without asking questions.
Okay.
So if you're telling me the problem and what needs to be done as a solution, and you're assuming you know that what I'm doing, I have no respect for where you're coming from. So I'd move on.
Gotcha.
And then I met this doc, and he's like, I don't have the answers.
Yeah.
He's like, let me introduce you to this, this theory, this philosophy. And I'm like, he's like, maybe it goes somewhere, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
And so we ended up becoming really good friends, and he started introducing me to people that were in the field on the clinical side, but there were a lot of like research and a lot of just like people that were bringing different things to the United States. And next thing you know, this is about 10 years ago, I'm starting to develop these relationships that the people that are writing the textbooks that are used in medical school, and I'm attending their seminars. I talk to them, and they're like, oh, you get this stuff. And we talk after. I get invited to speak with them. It just keeps like growing, and then you start learning, well, exactly what we were learning in the lecture is like what they're presenting. But how does that work under these circumstances? I don't know. And so there became a lot of back and forth because I was out there testing it. I was ranked #1 in the world during this period of time for powerlifting. I was for 8 years straight at one thing or another. And so they loved working with me because of that. And also because I could think. My engineering background probably didn't hurt with that and jumping in and understanding that stuff. So next thing you know, I've got this network of friends that are some of the leaders in the world as far as physical therapy, developmental kinesiology, spine biomechanics, strength coaching, just on and on and on. And I'm putting this together and I'm figuring like, how does all of this work together? Because at the time, a lot of these concepts are out there in our world and they're almost ubiquitous. Yeah. But at the time, nobody was talking about the stuff that I was talking about. I'm like, go back and find a single strength coach talking about breathing and bracing and use of the diaphragm before I did. Go back and find somebody talk about strengthening the foot and the impact of the body before I did. Go back. I mean, I can go on.
That's very true. Cause like, I remember the first time, Chris, like really, really digging deep and researching on it, because I had some injuries myself and I was transitioning from being, an MMA fighter to now lifting. And that's when I found you, primarily off of the videos, the YouTube videos. And that's when I went and got the certification. We did the KMS stuff, and I was drawn into the fact that you really focused on breathing and then bracing accordingly. And that was something that like nobody really was talking about until you started to bring it to the forefront. And I know that spine specialists like Dr. Stu and all those other guys, like they get it, but they didn't bring it to the forefront. I think that you merged the gap.
They didn't know how to actually make it happen in the real world of those us out there pushing the limits and put it in place. And it took me a long time. I think when we did, I'd already been at it for like 6-7 years by the time we met. Like I said, that's why I challenge anybody, find somebody in our field that was talking about it before me. There wasn't, because people were calling me crazy at the time. They're like, oh, that's nonsense. Blah, blah, blah. That's not what West Side says. And I'm like, well, I know this stuff works, and let me walk the walk. And that's why I've done the feats and stuff that I have to show like, oh, guess what? I can put this stuff together and demonstrate myself how we can stabilize the spine, what result this can have. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I end up developing, but that's what I do is like mentally, I see these connections and things. And so, yeah, it put me in this really unique spot, and I'm sitting there. So so everything we've talked about so far is like the first half of my book.
Yeah. and the book is, again, it's The Eagle and the Dragon, right?
Yep.
Bestseller right now. So make sure you guys check it out. And then you have a documentary coming up too, isn't it?
Yes. So there is a movie underway. It's around the grand goals.
Gotcha. That's the 1,000 pound.
5 years that I chased this thing. It's just shot over the last, I think it started about 3 months prior, maybe 6 months, somewhere in there, of my following my training and leading up to it. And then a lot of actually mixing in the past. So, of the story of the Eagle and the Dragon into it by interviewing people. Yep. Like, why is this guy fucking weird and do the shit that he does and so on. So that should be coming out this year. And then I'm working on a second book, which is business and self-improvement specific. Gotcha. That'll be out towards the end of this year. But nice. Yeah, the first half of the book is really about finding your strengths. So every chapter is really written for the reader. It's just an engaging story to help people understand you actually aren't your environment. You're not a product of those things. And I'm not in this essence. I am me because of how I responded, what my actions and responses were to the things in the world, the choices that I have, and really understanding yourself and trying to understand how to realize those strengths within the world. Now, the second half of the book is, so by the way, there's the dragon or the eagle. I've got two eagles. One's on my stomach, one's on my back, and they're shackled to my ankle trying to take flight. And you can fly to whatever heights you want in the world. The only thing holding you back at the end of the day is yourself. That was what I told myself at 20 years old when I had this done, when I was walking away from that crazy traumatic upbringing to go into school and walk in my own path. I had another tattoo done in my late 30s, and it's a giant dragon, an Ouroboros that covers my entire upper body. And it's the continual renewal of oneself, infinity. There's a lot of ways to interpret it, but to me, it's the purposeful reinvention of oneself, the eating the old and becoming the new. Mm-hmm. And so in the context of the book, it is specifically deciding who you want to be in this world and becoming that person. So in 2014, I was sitting there. I had a pretty damn good, successful career. I sought after for what I did. I made a lot of money, and I had a nice life. I had a house with a white picket fence, 2 kids, and I was living the American dream. And I sat there and I asked myself this important question. If I'm living the American dream, why am I unhappy?
Yeah.
Whose dream was this?
Mm-hmm.
It was me, finding my strengths and showing the world that this poor kid from the sticks could be successful. And I did it. Yeah. But there was a huge aspects of the way that I wanted to live that weren't realized. I needed a lot more creativity in what I did. I loved helping people. I got that in my leadership career. I still own, by the way, my little garage gym had by this point turned into a 9,000 square foot training facility on the side.
Yeah,
and I'm still training, myself at a high level.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, I need more passion around the things that I'm doing.
Yeah.
Making airplane parts, that's cool. But it was really the leading the other people and getting them to realize, that they could accomplish more than they thought possible. Like, all that was great. I loved that piece, and that was me. But I wanted to do something more for the world and leave a mark. And I knew I had the skills and capabilities to help people get out of pain and live a better quality of life, to use the stuff that I've been learning the prior 5 years. Because again, on the side, I was doing this other, speaking, a little bit of writing, and other things are related to the things that I had learned, which we just kind of talked about. And I'm like, this is what I need to do with my life. And so I walked away from all that. I sold my homes. I leveraged, I lost all my retirement savings. I ran up like $150,000 of credit card debt. I'm living in an apartment to get Kabuki Strength started. I went without paying myself for years. And I don't talk about these stories a lot. It was a hard time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And at the same time, that's when I quit competing in powerlifting too. Cause I'm like, I'm doing it because I love competition. I love challenge, but it really wasn't allowing me, because in those earlier years when I was having injuries, a couple of those were destroying my elbows. And so I couldn't really show what I was capable of. I was chasing the all-time records, but I couldn't quite get there. And I'm like, I want to do something more. And so I ended up taking my lifting. I became a freaking Instagram, YouTube lifter, whatever you want to call it. But I proved my time.
Yeah. You got the records to prove it. Yeah.
I had all time. I'd done my time. I've been competing for 16 years, ranked number 1 in the world for 8 years. So I'm like, I'm gonna take my lifting. I'm gonna do exhibition lifts, and I'm gonna pair it with a charity, and I'm gonna create these lifts that actually show the ability to manage the spine to the absolute ultimate, to just go fucking so crazy far over the top that nobody thinks this stuff is even humanly possible.
Yeah.
Squatting 800 pounds every single day for 30 days straight. deadlifting 400 kilo, 880 pounds every single fucking day till I tore a hamstring off on day number 17.
Yeah, I remember that.
Deadlifting 1,000 pounds for almost a triple, and then coming back around and squatting 1,000 pounds for almost a triple, or for a triple. And so, you know, if I'd said what I was going to go for when I decided that, like it was in my head, people would have called me, you can't do that. That's impossible.
Yeah. Well, like
I wanted this like so over the top, and everyone was paired with a charity. And so, like I said, I walked away from my career. I walked away from competitive lifting, and I also went through a divorce because I wanted passion in all areas of my life. I wasn't willing to live with a friend that was just a friend. And so I threw my fucking life like all apart. And I'm like, I want to love what I'm doing in all aspects and I want to be passionate. I want to walk into this world and live it the way that I want to live it. I want to have all the right people around me, people that believe and dream the same way that I do and want to have the same world. And that's what you can do as an entrepreneur, as a business owner.
Yeah.
You can be this magnet that pulls this in and creates your own world. So the thing my parents were chasing for all those years, to create this world away, I created within. I live in my own little bubble. Yeah, whatever.
No, that's crazy, man. How I wanted to ask you this because I think when I seen it, I was like, man, I gotta text you or call you or something. But how are you able to just prepare for the deadlift? Was crazy. Don't get me wrong. Like I know you can pull. Like with the sumo, yeah. I know you can pull. But back squatting 1,000 pounds, bro, that fucking kills your spine, bro. Like, how do you walk away from that? You know,
dude, it was so. It's not just being because remember, you know, there's people that have squatted 1,000 pounds. You know,
yeah, but they're also fucking 300 pounds too, as well. You know what I mean?
Exactly. and they're built to do it. They don't deadlift anywhere close to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah. I can't really describe what it was that I went through, man. It was more than just being strong because I had to have the mental knowledge to put myself back together. I had to be able to just live in that world for a period of time where that's all my focus was. So there's no way I could have had a job, but I was out. I was in some other place. It was like over a couple months after it happened that I finally woke up one day and I'm like, oh, welcome to the fucking world. Like I was just like this. I don't know how to describe it, but I try not to talk it too much because I don't want people to think that you have to push yourself. You shouldn't be pushing yourself in training to where you're in pain. There's different types. We're talking the wrong kind of pain, right?
You got to be able to understand which is which too, as well. But
yeah, but it wasn't like this every week because if it was, I wouldn't have made it. But there were so many weeks in there that something would happen, just a little wrong. Cause I'm week over week squatting like mid 900s for 8-9 reps total over a workout. Right. And then the next week, it's not the squat itself. That was easy. Yeah. The training was just fucking beyond brutal. Yeah. And there'd be times I'd walk away from kind of hobble away and I'm going home and I'm like, I can't get up the stairs and with my bag through the door to my house. And I'm like, most people, if they were feeling the way that I was right now with the pain, the lack of movement, they would be thinking their lifting career is over, or it's going to be a year of rehab, or it's going to be like, it was that bad. And I know, because I know this world. And I'd go, well, I've got 3 or 4 more days to put myself back together and I'll be there because I'm going to have 950 or 955 or whatever on the bar again. And I'd be there and do it. There was times, it'll be on the movie. You'll see me fucking passing out under the bar. My spotter team was freaking amazing, but there was just so much that either the nervous system, blood flow, I don't know. There was 3-4 weeks I really battled with it. And I missed several sessions where I just work up and then boom, I was fucking out.
Imagine.
And trying to figure that stuff out. So, my rehab would start the instant I was off the bar. We'd pull me off, wraps are off, and I'm on the floor. I've got my own therapy people in house. I was flying in people from, top guys from LA, Boston, wherever, like looking for every last straw that we could reach through to manage this recovery process and performance side of stuff. And I can't really describe it to any, like, it was just insane. That last 3 to 6 months was just fucking nuts, but I was going to do it. I'm like, this is it. When I'm done, I set this out 5 fucking years ago, and I'm going to pull this off. And I walked through and I did it. And I don't know what I can't describe what the fuck it was, but it was intense beyond belief.
What was the driving force behind you actually wanting to pursue this day in and day out? Like, it's not just you getting under the bar though, it's afterwards too. Like you said, you had to bring in people to help you recover from just what you did. And then on top of that, climb underneath the bar again and do it again with 900 plus pounds on a daily basis. What made you want to keep doing this? I know that obviously, mindset wise, it's there, but I don't see how somebody's actual physical being, like your physiology breaks down, your neuromuscular system breaks down. Like, how were you able to cope with it?
To the depths of that, and that'll be in the movie, the clinician that I was working with, I was on the verge of sudden death from a nervous system standpoint. So, I've got a neurological condition, and the amount of stress. So some of this, it's genetic, but also brought on by onset with childhood trauma and then a life of stress. And so for me, this was it for me. I have to be done. Like, if I continue to live and push in this way, I was going to die. Yeah. And so I was like, I am going to finish this. I'm going to complete this. And so I worked with a really top person that manages this type of stuff and trying to mitigate and manage that as best as it could. But this was, when I say I'm going to do something, I follow through and do it. I mean, look at what I've done in my life and my career and the things that, like, I know no other way than I walk the walk. I do what I say. And it comes from a leadership aspect. And I'm not going to be the person that gets up there and tells you a great story or writes an amazing book or whatever, is a great speaker, but they don't fucking have the shit behind it. Yeah. And so it's just a driving force. But the big piece is, like, that was it. If I didn't do it, there's no coming back. There's no whatever. This was it for me. This was my last year of ever making an attempt at this stuff. Yeah. And God, that sounds a little rough, but
no, man, it is what it is though.
You watch my training, I literally have not touched more than my body weight since then.
Yeah. But you don't need, like you said before, you've broken multiple records, world records, Guinness Book of World Records. You push your body to damn near death, like literally. So there's really nothing else that you need to do but some calisthenics. You need to relax a little bit. Yeah. Chris, I don't want to see you do anything more than fucking push-ups, buddy. All right.
I do push-ups a couple times a week. I love it. I'm turning 44 shortly. I got 3 kids, by the way. I got remarried, found love, which is fucking crazy. When you're 40 years old and you go, oh, this is the shit from fucking movies that everybody's been talking. That stuff's real. Yeah. I didn't know that. Like, that's a good time. So, awesome. But yeah, that's just where I'm at in my life. But I want to show people, I talk about, you can chase big fucking gnarly things. You can pull off more than you ever think that you're capable of if you set your mind to it. Yeah. I want to show people that you could fucking do this. And yeah, it's just lifting weights, but it's just one aspect of expressing it. And it's a way that I could walk and do that. And I do it with my business. I do it with all these other things. There's so many people that just don't, I can't imagine going through life and just like letting it live you.
For sure.
And this is something I said, 1995. I actually just pulled it up last night. Oh, yeah. It was the first time I was in the media. was the front page of the local newspaper, the feature piece of
He's a wrestler.
Standing in front of this. What's that?
You were a wrestler then, right? You had
I was a wrestler.
Yeah.
You had all my medals hanging on my jacket. I'm standing in front of this fucking, that was what I said was the best place I'd ever lived in. That's in the background behind it.
Oh, yeah.
You look at the picture, it's a dump. And I'm sitting there, and that's what I said. I said, you can either live life or you can let life live you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And here I am. I've done it in the athletic world. I've done it in the executive business world. I've done it in the family world. I've done it as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of guys out there, and I know there's a lot of young coaches that listen to this, and a lot of young entrepreneurs that are looking to, make their way in the business, in the industry, and try to get to where they need to be. What do you think is some effective goal setting attributes and what they need to do to get to that point of success? Is it something that they need to organize and have a strategic approach to? How do they sit down and actually organize that plan of action, and how can they get to where they want to be actually?
Yeah. So this is a really, really good discussion. So the first thing is you got to understand why you want the things that you want. Okay. You can't go about like setting some goals or a bucket list or all this stuff. People like want to focus on goal setting and, and chasing and getting the things that you've like, why do you fucking want those things?
Yeah.
Why? And so just keep asking yourself that question. I want to play in the NFL. I want to be a celebrity coach. I want a mansion. I want to have that nice car that all the IG famous people are driving around, like whatever you're looking at, whatever the things are. I don't know morality, whatever. Look at whatever those fucking things are that are catching your eye and you're going, I want that. Yeah. And go, why do I want that? Mm-hmm. And you keep driving, you keep asking yourself this question. Mm-hmm. And not in a 30-second, 5-minute, 1 hour time frame, week over week, month over month. You actually never stop, but at least 5 layers deep. They call this the process, the 5 whys. Okay. And you're going to start getting down to some other attributes that are more aligned with values and the way that you want to live. And they're going to be things that you can't actually ever have, but what you're trying to create is this thing that is a North Star for you, something that you can move towards. It shows you your path, but you can't actually ever get there, but you're always getting closer. Okay. And so it's going to be things like, I like recognition. I like challenge. For me, I like creativity. I like continual learning. I like security, knowing that I can take care of my family. These are, by the way, I'm listing these off. These are mine. You should end up with about 5 to 7 of them. So there's more for me than that. Like I said, no morality. It's like, I love challenge. I love accomplishment. Those are 2 of them, but I also like recognition. I'll admit, I like being recognized for the things that I fucking done there. You don't need to lay ego in it. Like, just admit, like, whatever. Yeah. But you're going to come to these things that aren't things.
Yeah.
And then once you have those, now you can realize, oh, maybe I blew out my knee and I'm never going to the NFL. I can't live my life dream. Well, there's a whole lot of other things because now I know why I wanted to have that thing. And now I can realize that in a whole lot of other ways. There's so many other avenues. So from there, you can start now laying down some goals. And you need to lay down the goals, not just goals, but a vision. Like knowing all the fucking nasty hard work and years and decades that it's going to take to actually pull this shit off. Don't be a dreamer. Dreaming's for fucking pussies. You're never going to go anywhere. Everybody like, oh, it's fucking, I want to be this, I want to be that, and never actually do shit. A vision is all the fucking hard work and everything that's on there. Yep. Now you're starting to get a plan, and you're going to know that it may not move forward, every day, every month in visible ways. But can I put a step forward? Can I move that direction? But then you're going to find a whole lot of stuff in your life that gets in the way. Yeah. The busy work, because you're going to think, I got to get all this stuff done. I got to do this. And you're just like, life is just coming, all this stuff. I say, quit doing everything for a day, for a week. And you'll find out really quickly the stuff that you have to do, because it'll come back. but you'll find out there's a lot of stuff that you have in your life. Friday night with the buddies. It's just there's so many, there's so many things that you can fill your space with. I'm filling that. I'm watching that show. I'm like things in your work environment. I'm running these reports because I think I got to.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, well, I'm actually never do anything with all that stuff that I'm doing. I never take action. Like it doesn't. So step one is start cutting the fluff out of your life. If it's not aligned with that North Star, if it doesn't move you in that direction, stop doing it.
Yeah.
And some things you got to do.
Yeah.
I reference pretty quick. You're going to find you have to do laundry. All right. Or, your girlfriend or your wife might, kick you out. You're going to find out, if I don't pay my bills, electricity is going to get shut off. Yeah. Well, next step is in there. How can I automate it? How can I do something to make that stuff just take care of itself? And the last one is, okay, if it's not the big focus things that I move my life for, how can I delegate it? How can I outsource it? You won't be able to get everything into these 3 buckets.
Yeah.
But you'll be surprised at how much time and space you create in your life. And now, once you do that every day, have a plan of putting that 1 foot in front of the next towards that North Star. Every week, have a bigger plan of the big things that you're moving forward. You should start the week every fucking Monday being so excited.
Yeah, definitely.
Monday's the best fucking day of the week.
Yeah,
you got the whole week ahead of you to get this stuff moved forward. And if you're not excited walking into Monday, you need to take a step back because you're not where you need to be yet. Okay. Yeah. Every month, because if you don't do this, next thing you know, just life, you're just chasing, you're doing this, you're running around with your hair on fire, getting shit done, checking off your list.
Yeah.
And 6 months rolls by and you actually haven't even put 1 foot towards that North Star.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's a year. And next thing you know, it's 10 years and you're still sitting on your couch. Your kids are playing there on the floor. And you're kind of irritated. You don't know why, because you're going nowhere in your life.
Yeah.
You're not engaged with your family because of it. You're unhappy. Well, if you chase things, everybody's like, oh, it's a balance of this. It's a balance of that. Fucking bullshit. I'm sorry. If you chase the things that are really important to the absolute extreme, you can actually chase family to the absolute fucking extreme at the same time that you chase something that is crazy for a business that you want. And you'll end up finding beauty in the middle.
Yeah.
If I say, Phil, I want you to squat to absolute fucking the max, everything that you've got. And you realize I'm not saying everything's to the wind. Form doesn't count, blah, blah, blah. I'm saying, actually, I want all that to perfection at the exact same time. If you do that, it doesn't mean squatting with 135 and just mastering technique. And you'll end up finding this beautiful thing in the middle where you actually, by pushing the weight, you actually get better at your technique because you find your flaws.
Mm-hmm.
By perfecting your technique, you actually end up lifting more because everything's moving better and you're recovering better. And so you end up, by chasing these extremes, the center, the balance becomes so much better. And you can take that analogy to so many things in your life.
Bro, I was going to say that.
But you have to cut the fluff. You have to cut the things that aren't aligned with that North Star, which then gets back to, you have to know what that is to start with.
Yeah, I think, man, that was so crazy the way you said that, because it's funny, man, you taught me one thing at the seminar when I was squatting and I was just throwing weights on. And I think I squatted and we had all day, we were learning all day, and I didn't need to do this, but I wanted to do this. And we're throwing 5 plates on there. And I'm just like, all you did was I went and hit the squat. All you did was came behind me and just basically tap the back of my head. And I knew what you meant by that. It was just stack your spine pretty much, right? Now, with that amount of intensity built in, and this is why it goes full circle from a life perspective, you need to have the highest intensity, or you need to have the highest intent to showcase what you can do. And then from there, it allows you to perfect the quote unquote technique, or perfect your life in a sense. So you need to go through that. You need to have that intensity built in. And we're talking about maybe weight on the bar, but I'm also talking about, you know, like having to deal with certain circumstances in life that's going to stress you, that's going to cause you to be better. So I get it. And that's how I was like, man, this is so true. You know?
I hate this. I'm the antithesis to the common thing, which is you find balance through moderation. I'm like, no. You find mediocrity through moderation. You half-ass your job so you got work-life balance, but you fucking hate what you do, so you come home and you're pissed off and you had some beers and you're not engaged with your, like, versus I fucking love what I do, and you're going to push yourself to the freaking max. And next thing you know, wow, when I got that time, I'm going to maximize it, or I'm going to figure out actually how to put those together. So for me, I spend so much time with my family now than my old career in the morning before I even go to work, right? That I didn't have available. And then my training as part of my workday. So I'm home earlier, and I'm able to meld the two together in this way that I'm able to create so much more time for my family, even though I actually work more.
Yeah. No, you have structure, you have balance, you have an understanding. And I think when you have a vision, it's easier to have a strategic approach to that vision. You know, we talk about like, having dreams, and that's all fun. That's some shit that you do as a kid. But at the same time, there should be a vision. There should be a set list of goals that you want to accomplish. And then you need to have those steps to accomplish those goals. And that goes for everything. And you've done that tremendously over and over again. What I did want to talk about, though, I want to kind of back up a little bit, because I know that you have built your business on helping people feel better, you know, and not only that, but perform at the highest level. You're working with multiple professional teams, high-level coaches, high-level athletes. How did you get started in, you know, branding yourself, one, because I want to talk about business too as well. Yeah. And then how did you find your way into that rehabilitation, like mobility side of the training process?
Yeah. Good question. The branding, when I started the business, when I headed this direction, I started obviously well beforehand. Yeah. I started my YouTube, like people, how do I become an online coach? How do I, oh my God, how about you go get a job at 24 Hour Fitness? What? I'm like, you got to learn how to freaking coach and know how people react, and know, like, you got to cut your teeth. You got to spend time. I started like my YouTube channel in 2006. Oh, wow. I started producing content on the regular to help people sometime before that. I don't even remember. And I saw a gap. I saw something that was missing in the industry. I saw this at the time, this old school mentality of you gotta push yourself through the pain mentality, right? And then I started learning some, like, the things I was learning, these big antiquated chest up, push back, these open, like, things that were just like broken. I'm like, well, no money in this, but I'm going to just start creating value by putting out education around this, right? Mm-hmm. And then as I did that, I started finding gaps in the equipment. And so I was very purposeful. I didn't have an ad budget. I didn't have a branding budget, but you'll notice all the first things, products I released as a company, mm-hmm. Shoulder Rock, mm-hmm. Duffalo bar, transformer bar, soft tissue tools. With no ads, I got people to, between that and producing content on movement, to understand, and then shifting and using the relationships, mm-hmm. using relationships strategically to support my position, support the education, to support the equipment. Mm-hmm. Go on Kabuki Advisory Board. We've got like the best advisory board in the industry. One for equipment manufacturing, nobody has anywhere close to us. $1 billion companies don't have what we have. Yeah. But this is what I built as authority in our industry through all of this stuff. So it's a lot of little pieces, but it's leveraging real authentic relationships. Mm-hmm. It's not leveraging, I don't have the biggest, I've got a pretty good size social media following, but there's so many of my friends that got million follower pluses. Yeah. It's the value of those relationships, just the couple. If you want to be an expert in a field, don't get to know 200 people in the field. Hold up your hand. 5, 4 fingers, 1 thumb. Go find 5, just 5 of the best leaders in that industry and create real authentic relationships with them.
Yep.
And you will do stuff. And now connect the dots between that and what you do and there's some sort of magic in here. You've got to have something new, some value to add, but you combine that with just 5 people that are leading figures in the industry and you'll do amazing things. Okay. That's where the magic comes from. Real authentic relationships. I'm not super suave as a speaker. Like, I can get people fired up and stuff like that, but I stumble over my words. I'm not polished. I'm not the polished executive. I'm not the blah, blah. But when I talk to people, people know that I am authentic, that I'm grounded, that I'm real, and that I am the person I am in front of them.
Yeah.
I don't put on a face. I don't try to pretend to be something that I'm not. And that's how you create some real relationships. Just sit back. It's not about people get on my Instagram. I love the comments. You shave your head, bro. You got to look okay. This is just me. Like, I don't need to be like I don't need to be the Fitspo star.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to do that shit because that's not me. And guess what? Those people don't have people that connect with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay.
Yeah. That's funny. Cause like I'm seeing your hair.
It's fucking fine.
Yeah. Look. So it's funny because when I look at you, I'm like, oh yeah, that's just Chris. That's him right there. Like, not giving a fuck about if he did his hair or if he didn't do his hair. He's still gonna do the video. He's still gonna give you everything he's got, But I've probably been a follower of yours, I want to say since 2015, 2014. When I was really getting into powerlifting and making my transition over. And what I can say is that you've put out so much quality and value in the world of not just YouTube, but every social media platform, with all the stuff that you do with the membership and then also with all of the equipment I have all of your shit in my gym right now. You know what I mean? Like, we got Duffalo bars, we got a shoulder rock, we got a paint, we got everything. What I'm looking at now though is like, where do you go from here? What are you doing now to level up?
This is all just foundational work. That's the first 5 years is that you see so far. So there's a much bigger plan. I can't, there's a reason we have coaching and education. I am working on a clinical component as well. Actually, that mentor I talked about way back, he's working in-house right now. I'm going to re-envision what the gym is. And people can actually see and connect it. If I said this a year ago, people would not get, like, all of our stuff rapidly accommodates from one user to the next. It rapidly accommodates for variabilities in lever links, mobility restrictions, all this sort of stuff, okay? Our coaching system provides our coaching the statistics and the modeling of what's working and what's not based on the scientific principles of training, okay? And you've had the experience of that on the other end, but we continue to refine that and then integrate it with our movement and tools. All this rolls together because they're connected. Yeah. This is why we have the tools that we do, because they're of the principles that we believe around movement and coaching, right? So that we haven't got into the larger scope of the gym. How do you manage the bars? How do you the pulley equipment, all this other stuff? But if we take those same concepts, we can create this small facility that can be set up. Let's say a 600 square foot space. We could create a facility that could manage 12 to 15 people. Wow. As far as the equipment, you're going to need a little more space just because of the people. Yeah. If you had, but we would be able to take amazing things that you see from group training. Let's say we'll take CrossFit when I say group training, because people will jump to Zumba classes or whatever, that you see for adherence, for culture, for community, which I hugely believe you need that to have success as an athlete. Well, not necessarily. There's a lot of great individual performers, but it really is helpful for most people. Yeah. But the problem is you can't individualize it. So now if we put those two tools together, we could create these facilities that could actually change the face of fitness. And if there was an integrated clinical model of a clinician on site or telemedicine in, and then like, again, you think about what they can do versus what the coach can do if they all actually were trained in the same system and clinician, like there's a huge amount, like 80% of the stuff a clinician would need to do for an assessment or fixing post, you could do, Phil.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can start seeing like, my goal is to change the face of fitness and its integration with clinical care. Can't go through all the details of that. It's a 10-year plan. I'm 5 years in, but it's to change the face of both of those for the better, moving away from the Globo gym, everything fits all, against the siloed of all these different, the coaches this and the equipment designers over here, and the clinician doesn't even know, like all this freaking siloed crap, and have it all built off of one system and work together to begin, and then be scalable and take over the fucking globe.
Yep. No, that's something.
So I have a big plan.
Yeah, that's it.
See, right now is the things that I had to invent to start building the foundation. And there's a few more of those that I have to build the foundation or invent. And then we start from both a systems perspective and equipment. And then it's a matter of putting all this together. It's a very giant game of chess. And people out there go, oh, Kabuki, they make specialty barbells. Yeah. It was like,
you think
Kabuki makes powerlifting stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wait, no, all the athletes are using their stuff. Well, they make cool, like specialty stuff. Yeah. Well, yeah, we do. But there's a much bigger game at play.
Yeah, as always, you're always looking to level up, and that's the same with me too as well. It's crazy.
I want to change all the fucking broken shit that I see in our industry.
Yeah. And, what do you like? That's another thing I did want to ask you. What do you see? What's going on with the industry now? I know there's a lot of new stuff coming out. What do you feel is like the most that you see are like, man, that's not it. That's not what we need to be doing. We need to go into a different direction, or is like, do you feel like we are making the steps in the right direction? Like, where do you see the industry at?
Yeah, there's so many good things. Like the topics that we started this out with that I was going, I was the first, like it's become ubiquitous. Now, most people aren't doing it right. They don't actually understand the nuance of this stuff, but it's heading the right direction as far as like movement and training philosophies and stuff like that. We're starting to get innovation, but most of it, 80% of it's gimmicky crap. We're starting to use technology, but 80% of it is data that's freaking non-actionable and confusing and whatever. But so it's the beauty is going to come when we're able to start marrying this stuff together. Yeah. When a strength coach can go, this is how you use the tool, like the velocity. People misused velocity for a long time until we came in and said, look, you could actually use this to understand where your nervous system's at and what load you should put on the bar, not moving it faster. Right. But it took the coach because people knows here's the velocity and this is it in different parts of the movement. And here, totally misused. The sports teams are getting hammered, and I see this in some of your arena as well with these larger team-based metric things where they're pulling all this data and it's like, that's nice. I'm a nerd myself. I'll admit it, but being just a data nerd. So the people developing this stuff, you got to understand that's what they are. They're data nerds. They don't know how to use it. They don't know how to apply it. They don't know what it should be looked at. And they don't understand that everything has to be actionable. We only want to do stuff that actually changes a behavior or causes you to make a decision. And that's where the coach is, right? So, and we can't lose the eye. So sometimes this is the problem with data. And here I've got my Aura ring on. I got my velocity device out there. I got right. But then we stop using the eye of the coach.
Yeah.
Right? There's an art of coaching. And so this stuff needs to be adjuncts and as pieces that helps facilitate that art of coaching. And so there's a lot of really, really good stuff coming. It's just a matter in process right now, but we got to do a lot of work to figure out how to use it and what's appropriate and filter out the crap.
Yeah, that's fucking perfect answer, man. Because there's a lot of young coaches out there, especially like these kids now with my interns, they're coming straight out of college and you know, they're worried more about the metrics and the data. And don't get me wrong, I'm all about that too as well. And using some technology to get those objective indicators that we want for fatigue management. But at the same time, like, you lose your communication skills. You lose your ability to coach effectively, like have the art of coaching built in too as well. It's important, you know?
Yep. You can't manage this through data. Like, coaching is a personal thing.
Yes, 100%. I think that's one thing that, like, and you know that, Chris, because like you've been in the industry for so long, you've coached for so long. It's that, like, it doesn't matter with any athlete, man. Like, they don't give a fuck. Like, the nuanced words, like the high techy words that you say to them, they care as much as like how much do you care about them, and are you going to get them results? Like, plain and simple.
But at the same time, you don't want to be like the old school guys, you know, some old West, like, oh, fucking shit's trash, like, blah, blah, just got to stick with, you know. And it's like, no, there's value there.
100%.
If we use it appropriately as a tool where it's in the right, like, and so that's where the beauty is going to come from. That's what's going to happen over this next decade. And then we're going to continue to see now what I've been building my stuff around was this growth of the home gym, the growth of the smaller one-on-one catered, you know, training environment, the catered, like what you're doing, the catered gym. You're catering to a certain environment and athlete base. You want a certain either culture within your facility, or a type of so you're going to see Olympic lifting, MMA, focused strength training. You're going to see, like, all this stuff is growing, and the Globo gyms are going to go away. And so, like, I've been seeing the giant equipment and the other stuff that everybody keeps building to, because everybody just keeps, you know, they're heading the wrong direction. I think they're going to start figuring it out at some point. But I was building toward this, and now that COVID happens, everybody's like, oh, I get it now. Yeah. Like, the fact we're doing this over Skype, you know, meeting clients that way, talking to your doctor that way, like, all that stuff was gonna happen. We just kind of moved forward, and
No, that's great, man. I want to make sure that we plug the book. We get the documentary.
Oh yeah, we got to plug stuff. I always forget that.
Come on,
I'm the worst.
Hey, listen,
I'm the worst fucking salesperson. I just, like, you know my background. Like, I just, like, I get out there, I share, like, I have to bring, like, a salesperson with me. Like,
I know it. This is why we pay these guys to do this, man. The marketing guys, the sales guys, they handle all that stuff. But let's go ahead and tell them, you know, first, where can they obviously get the book? On Amazon, or is it on your website? You can get it on
Amazon, Audible, Barnes and Noble, probably like Target, stuff like that. But if you go through my website, chrisduffin.com, you can get the free Audible download. I read it, by the way.
Oh, nice.
And as well as one other book, if you sign up through that link. So it's a phenomenal deal. Okay. If you want a signed copy of the book, if you order any of the copies off of Kabuki Strength, I personally sign every one of those going out the door. But I honestly don't care what platform, how you go about it. Read it. It's going to change your perspective on life.
Yeah.
Or listen to it. It's phenomenal.
I do got it on
links to all my businesses are on chrisduffin.com, but Kabuki Strength, I'm pretty easy to find. Yeah. You type my name into any social media or on the Googles. We all know how to internet. Come on. And type it in, you'll find me. The areas I interact. Yeah. I actually started using Facebook again. My public page on there I'm using again. LinkedIn. I do a lot actually on LinkedIn. We drop a lot of educational stuff because I work with so many professional strength coaches and stuff out there that are more they're outside of the social media realm. Yeah. I'd say that, like, people like LinkedIn. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, I work with the head coaches for, like, all these colleges and professional sports teams. They don't have an IG account a lot of times. Where they do, it's, you know, anyway. And obviously Instagram, I interact quite a bit on. So those are places. What about
are you doing Twitter at all? You got a Twitter?
I have a Twitter, and I need to start using it. I just kind of, I have trouble because there's so much nuance to stuff. And so every time my social people are like, do it. And I'm like, I haven't figured out how to do that yet.
Fuck it.
I don't like being taken out of context, and it's so easy there. So I haven't done that.
I wanna see you on a TikTok. That's what I do want to see.
I tried playing around with it. I threw a few videos up on TikTok earlier this year, and I don't get it. Yeah.
Listen, I had a meeting with one of my sponsorship agencies, and they're like, "You have to get on TikTok," and I'm on it, but I'm not like on it. And my daughters are like, man, my daughter has like 13,000 followers on TikTok. She's like 15 years old. I'm like, man, this is crazy.
I posted up like my big squats and like all this stuff, and I'm like, 10 people saw it. I'm like, like, oh, it's a fucking 1,000-pound squat. Like,
you gotta dance, bro. You gotta dance on there. That's what's really gonna get you.
So yeah.
No, all right, that's great, man. Thanks so much for coming on. We're definitely gonna get you back on, and make sure that you guys check out the book, get the audio book too. Are you talking on the audio book, by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, that's even better, man. All right, so make sure you get that. I'm a guy, obviously you guys know, they've heard me before talk about this. I drive 90 minutes a day, 3 hours a day pretty much. So that audio book is definitely going to be listened to, especially I can listen to your great voice on a daily basis. So that's always good. But hold on real quick. I'm going to go ahead and close it out, but stay on the line real quick for me, Chris.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So that's the episode. Make sure you check it out, and I'll see you again next time.